But just to be absolutely clear about what I sometimes refer to as these three recognitions, really, rather than three steps. The first one being that I am the knower of experience, or I am that with which all experience is known. That's the classical position of the witness of experience. And the second recognition, I am not just that with which all experience is known, but I, awareness, am that in which all experience appears. So in this second recognition, we begin to collapse the distinction between awareness and its objects, but we still make a distinction. Awareness is like the ocean, and the objects of experience are like fish in the ocean. And then the third recognition, I am not just that with which all experience is known. I am not just that in which all experience appears, but I am that out of which all experience is made, or of which all experience is the activity. And this final recognition completely collapses the distinction between awareness and its objects. So in the first step, the classical Vedantic step, we separate ourselves from experience. I am the impartial witness of experience, the knower of the known. And the second step is an intermediary step. We find that in the Buddhist traditions more. And then in the final step, I am just the knowing out of which all experience is made. So there's no longer awareness and experience, or awareness and objects. There is just one thing which is not a thing and cannot legitimately be named, but I call it knowing amongst other things. And everything is a modulation of that knowing. For instance, all we know of this room or the world is, at the moment, is the experience of seeing and hearing and touching. And all there is to the experience of seeing, hearing, and touching is knowing. So this immediately, having put the world and all objects and others at a distance from yourself, this brings everything close, in fact, closer than close. It's not too close to yourself, it is yourself. It's a position of love rather than a position of discrimination. The first position, we discriminate ourselves, we extricate ourselves from the content of experience. And in this last step, it's the opposite of that. It's the complete merging of ourselves with experience. It's a position of love in which there is not room for two things.
So in the first stage, we would realize that I'm not the world, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. I'm the witnessing awareness behind it.
The first stage, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this.
And the third stage
I
is
am this,
I am the world, I
this.
am the body, and I am my thoughts.
I'm everything.
And
what's the only position that is, either position is fine. I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this is fine. But as you rightly say, it tends to distance us from activities, from relationships, it's not a very satisfactory position. The I am this, the I am this is where we feel completely, fully engaged in life, in activities, in relationships. Nothing in us needs to hold ourselves back or defend ourselves. We can be completely open and vulnerable in activities and relationships, but our essential self is never harmed. It doesn't need to be defended, nor does it need to be fulfilled in life. The only position that is a problem is a position between these two when we say, I am something. So to say I am nothing is okay, to say I am everything is okay. What's problematic is to say I am something. So on this approach, we tend to start off in the first few days this week, distancing ourselves from experience. We are not our thoughts. Whatever it is that is aware of our thoughts is not itself a thought, etc. This is the neti-neti approach. I am nothing. What am I? I am the presence of awareness. Then we recognize the nature of the presence of awareness. And then we collapse or dissolve experience into awareness. And that is the position, I am everything.
So, yes, I have the understanding. And again, it feels like I've been in the nothing position.
Oh, good. Well, maybe that's fulfilled its
but it's not.
Try the I am everything path for a
So
while.
how would you recommend anything specific rather than just going around and just saying to myself, I am this, I am that?
No. You don't have to go around repeating yourself. It's not a verbal thing. It's a feeling thing. Just know yourself as the knowing, out of which all your experience is made. So when you're talking, when you're walking, when you're looking, when you're eating, when you're listening, you can give yourself fully to that experience. You no longer have to separate yourself out from it. You give yourself totally to it, but you don't lose yourself in it. The experience loses itself in you. You don't lose touch with yourself as the knowing. You don't allow the drama of experience to veil your knowledge of yourself as this knowing. So you can be totally one, totally engaged with experience, and at the same time you are free of it. Not free of it by being the aloof witness, but you're free of experience in the midst of experience.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Awareness is not just transcendent, it is immanent. It's much more fun than the witness position.
Exactly. It feels like the witness position is like aloof and dull, and the position when I realize that I am everything is the position of love.
Yes, I think to be fair, it's not quite true to say that it's aloof or dull. There are many beautiful sages and traditions that are built on based around I, the witness of my experience. It's a position of enlightenment, and it's a position. It's not really a position of aloofness or dullness. It's what Francis once referred to as benevolent indifference. So it's this kind of loving indifference, loving uninvolvement. It's more like, don't think of the witness position as aloof or dull. That's a misrepresentation of it. Go back to the image of the mother watching her children playing in the garden. She's not aloof, and her position is not dull. She has no particular interest in the games they are playing, or the outcome of their games. In that sense, she's indifferent, but her gaze is loving and affectionate.
There is still the mother and the children. I want to be everything.
No, but I'm talking about, I'm just trying to restore the witness position to make sure that we're not that it's not being misrepresented.
Okay.
It's a beautiful path, and if that was all one's path was, that would be fine. For many people, it is their path, and that's quite okay. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't somehow suggest that it was you said it was aloof and dull. It's not really a position of aloofness and dullness. It's just a position of loving indifference. It's what Krishnamurti said at the end of his life, when people asked him, have you got any last teaching for us? Any special last teaching? And he said, yes, I have got one last teaching for you. And of course, everyone was expecting him to say some marvelous new esoteric teaching, and he said simply, "I don't mind what happens." That's not a position of aloof dullness. It's not a rejection of experience. It's just a position that my peace is not dependent upon what does or does not happen. So that's a perfectly valid pathway. But here, we don't just take that. We tend to start with that pathway, but then because this is not a renunciate path, it's we love life. We want to live our lives fully engaged with activities and relationships. So that's why in this approach we then collapse the distinction between awareness and its object, so that the piece of our true nature is not just available to us in the privacy of our home, but it's available to us out in the street or in the office or in the airport or during a crisis or during all the ups and downs of life, so that we don't defend ourselves or shrink from life, but we can be fully open to the full spectrum of our experience, the wonderful moments and the terrible moments, without shrinking from them, without contracting back into a separate person that's afraid of being hurt.